Once celebrated for bringing the futuristic world of Buck Rogers to life, several cast members faced unexpected tragedies that reshaped their careers and personal lives. Accidents, misfortunes, and unforeseen circumstances led some down paths they never imagined. Now, in 2025, where have their journeys taken them? Did they find redemption, or were their careers permanently derailed? Join us as we uncover the untold stories of resilience, heartbreak, and hope behind the faces that once defined a sci-fi era. Who do you think made the ultimate comeback? Gil Gerard, who played the title role of Buck Rogers at age 36 in Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, became a symbol of 1970s sci-fi heroism with his square jaw, wry humor, and unwavering determination. As Buck, a man out of time navigating the complexities of a future Earth, Gerard captivated audiences with both action and charm. Off-screen, however, his life spiraled into hardship. After the series ended, his career dwindled due to health problems and a crippling addiction to cocaine and food, resulting in severe weight gain and multiple heart surgeries. Gerard married actress Connie Sellecca in 1979, but their volatile relationship ended in divorce in 1987. They had one son, Gilbert Jr., with whom he had an on-and-off relationship strained by his absences and addiction. Isolated by fame, Gerard struggled with depression, financial insecurity, and a string of failed business ventures. He has since undergone gastric bypass surgery and attempted to reconnect with fans and family in later years. Now 82, he lives quietly in Arkansas, surviving on modest residuals and convention appearances. Once poised for stardom, he is now a cautionary tale of lost promise. His current estate is estimated at $300,000. Erin Gray, who portrayed the fierce and elegant Colonel Wilma Deering at 29, broke barriers as a female lead in science fiction. Her performance combined steely resolve with a deep humanity, making Wilma a rare and respected role model in a male-dominated genre. But Erin's post-Buck Rogers life was far from a fairy tale. After her breakout, she struggled to escape typecasting, relegated to minor TV appearances and commercial work. Her first marriage to Ken Schwartz ended in 1990 after years of emotional neglect and growing distance. They had 2 children, Kevin and Samantha, though Erin often raised them alone while balancing an inconsistent acting career. In 1991, she married Richard Hisson, but this too was fraught with tension, mostly over financial instability and her quiet battle with clinical depression. Gray turned to teaching self-defense and spiritual wellness to cope. Her son faced legal trouble in his 20s, deepening her sorrow. Now 75, Erin lives a modest life in California, giving the occasional fan talk, but away from the limelight. Her estate is estimated at $500,000, a far cry from her brief days as a sci-fi icon. Tim O'Connor, who was 52 when he took on the role of the calm and rational Dr. Elias Hure, lent the series a gravitas few others could match. His character served as a moral compass and mentor to Buck, quietly commanding authority with a single look. Yet behind the composed demeanor lay a man wearied by emotional hardship. O'Connor's acting career, once promising in the 1960s, faded into obscurity after Buck Rogers, leaving him disillusioned and frustrated. He married actress Mary Foskett in the early 60s, but their union was haunted by miscarriages and eventually ended in divorce in 1974. He had one adopted daughter, Devon, though their relationship became strained after his withdrawal from public life. Tim moved to a remote ranch in California, where he battled Parkinson's disease, financial loss from bad investments, and a tragic house fire in 2009 that destroyed many personal possessions. Despite a few late career cameos, he died quietly in 2018 at 90 due to natural causes. His estate, largely diminished by medical bills, was estimated at $250,000. Tom Christopher, who embodied the enigmatic Hawk at age 41, brought a haunting beauty to the role of the avian alien warrior in the show's second season. With sharp features and solemn eyes, Hawk became a cult favorite, his stoicism masking profound loss. Off-screen, Christopher's life mirrored his character's solitude. A classically trained actor, he found himself typecast and underemployed after Buck Rogers, eventually taking small soap opera roles that barely sustained him. He married theater director Judy Feingold in 1978, but their marriage collapsed in the early 90s amid reports of infidelity and alcohol abuse. They had one son, Elias, who later distanced himself from his father. Tom struggled with depression, especially after the death of his brother in a car crash and his own cancer diagnosis in the early 2010s. Increasingly reclusive, he turned to painting and poetry in his final years, rarely making public appearances. He died on December 5, 2024, at the age of 84, from complications of prostate cancer. His estate was modest, estimated at $150,000, mostly composed of artwork and memorabilia he left behind. Markie Post, who played Joella Cameron at age 29 in Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, delivered a performance filled with charm, wit, and unexpected strength. Her character, initially seen as just another romantic interest, proved herself clever and capable by helping Buck foil a catastrophic plot. Markie's own life, however, was riddled with emotional turbulence. She married Michael A. Ross in 1982, and though their union endured until her death, it was shadowed by years of private struggles and her ongoing battle with depression. They had two daughters, Katie and Daisy, who often bore witness to their mother's emotional distance. Professionally, Markie achieved fame with Night Court, but her later years were marred by typecasting and declining health. She suffered 5 major losses in her lifetime, including the deaths of close friends and prolonged legal battles over royalties. Diagnosed with cancer in 2017, she fought bravely but passed away on August 7, 2021, at the age of 70. At the time of her death, her estate was estimated at $1.5 million, much of which went to her daughters. Despite the accolades and smiles on camera, Markie's life was underscored by silent pain and an enduring sense of never quite belonging to the world that loved her work. Paul Carr, who portrayed Major Duke Danton at age 39, gave life to a determined and principled officer with a storied romantic past and a sense of duty to earth. Carr's calm intensity lent the character both authenticity and charm. Behind the scenes, Carr's personal life was quietly tragic. He was married to Mary Carr for over 2 decades, though the marriage grew cold and distant as his career stalled in the mid-1980s. They had 3 children, Jonathan, Elise, and Patrick, who struggled with their father's emotional unavailability. After Buck Rogers, Carr never found another major role, leading to a period of depression and financial instability. He suffered a heart attack in 1992, followed by a long recovery, only to be diagnosed with lung cancer a decade later. The death of his son Patrick in a car accident in 1997 devastated him and further strained his already fragile marriage, which ended in quiet divorce. Carr died on February 17, 2006, at age 72 due to complications from cancer. His estate, diminished by years of medical bills and failed investments, was valued at approximately $300,000. Despite the pain, Carr was remembered by colleagues for his quiet dignity and unwavering professionalism. Michael Ansaro was 57 when he stepped into the role of Kane, Princess Ardala's ruthless lieutenant in Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. With his piercing gaze and commanding voice, Ansaro brought an unsettling gravitas to the role, turning Kane into a memorable antagonist. Ansaro's personal life was deeply marked by sorrow. He married actress Barbara Eden in 1958, and although they divorced in 1974, they remained linked by their only child, Matthew. Matthew's tragic death by overdose in 2001 haunted Ansaro's final years. His second marriage to Beverly Kushida offered little solace, marred by emotional distance and regret. Ansaro faced racism and typecasting throughout his career, often relegated to stereotypical roles despite his talent. He lost his father during a period of professional decline and suffered through 2 bankruptcies in the 1980s. Quiet and introspective in later life, he withdrew from Hollywood completely by the early 2000s. Ansaro died on July 31, 2013, at the age of 91 from complications of Alzheimer's disease. At the time of his passing, his estate was estimated at $1 million, much of which was left to charity and a scholarship fund in his son's name. Patty Maloney, who was 44 in 1979 when she portrayed Tina, the small yet impactful robotic aide, stood out in Buck Rogers in the 25th century with her endearing presence and gentle humor. A woman of short stature and immense heart, Maloney had long fought against the industry's bias, often overlooked for meaningful roles due to her condition. Behind her bright eyes was a life often marked by solitude. She never married, though she had one brief romance in her 30s that ended abruptly due to her partner's shame in the public eye. She always dreamed of a family but remained childless, filling that void with animals and the occasional godchild. Her parents died in a tragic house fire in 1981, and her only sibling became estranged following a dispute over inheritance. Maloney battled with chronic health issues and recurring depression, retreating from public appearances by the mid-2000s. Now 90, she lives in a quiet care facility, rarely seen but still fondly remembered by fans. Her estate is modest, estimated at $250,000, sustained by careful savings and residuals from her work. Despite a life filled with loss and loneliness, she is remembered with affection for her gentle soul and indelible screen charm. Anthony James, who portrayed the sinister Varric in Buck Rogers in the 25th century, was 37 years old when he embodied the cold, calculating antagonist whose unnerving gaze and skeletal frame made him unforgettable. Known for playing eerie villains, James's life off-screen was starkly different yet equally shadowed. A loner most of his life, he never married, explaining in his memoir that love always escaped his grasp. He had no children and was estranged from his parents after a tumultuous upbringing marred by alcoholism and neglect. His acting career dwindled after the 1990s, and he quietly retired, finding solace in painting and poetry, his only companions in a solitary California home. He endured 5 tragic losses in the 2000s, including the suicide of his closest friend and the death of a beloved mentor. Diagnosed with cancer in 2019, he spent his final months alone in hospice care. Anthony James passed away on May 26, 2020, at the age of 77. Despite a life of isolation, his legacy endures in every haunted role he left behind. His estate was modest, estimated at $400,000, with most of his possessions donated to arts charities. Alex Hyde, who took on the role of Carl at just 20 years old, portrayed the quiet genius behind the control panels, a youthful tech mind brimming with hope and loyalty. Off-camera, however, life became a more complicated script. Son of the famed Wilfried Hyde, Alex constantly battled the shadow of his father's fame. After Buck Rogers, he struggled to escape typecasting and spent years in minor roles. His first marriage to actress Karen Dutch Rice ended in a bitter divorce, marked by custody battles over their son Garrick. He later remarried a producer, Elizabeth Carlson, with whom he had another child, Ava, but that marriage also unraveled due to financial strain and infidelity. His family life never stabilized, and he often expressed regret over missing critical milestones in his children's lives. He lost 2 close friends to suicide and suffered bankruptcy in 2004. Although still acting in small roles at age 66, Hyde admits in interviews to being haunted by the roles that got away. His estate, bolstered by residuals and voiceover work, is estimated around $1 million, and he now lives quietly in Los Angeles, rarely appearing in public. Dennis Haysbert, 25 when he played the unwavering commander, embodied strength, control, and responsibility in a world of chaos. But behind his steely exterior lay a life riddled with emotional turmoil. After his breakout role, Haysbert found fame in 24 and insurance commercials, yet personal happiness eluded him. He married actress Lynn Griffith, but their union dissolved amid reports of infidelity and resentment over career imbalances. They had one son, Charles, whom Haysbert supported financially but struggled to connect with emotionally. A second marriage collapsed following the stillbirth of their only daughter, a tragedy that left deep scars. The death of his brother in a car crash, his mother's long battle with dementia, and his own battles with depression darkened much of his 50s. Now 71, he speaks rarely about his pain but has become an advocate for mental health in the black acting community. His estate is estimated at $5 million, thanks largely to commercial work and investments, yet Haysbert lives alone in a gated home outside San Diego, finding comfort in gardening and long walks away from the spotlight. Garner, who portrayed the president at 41, brought a blend of wisdom and quiet moral authority to a show often dominated by action and spectacle. A theater actor before the sci-fi boom, Garner had hoped Buck Rogers would launch him into film, but the reality was less kind. Roles became fewer, and Garner eventually left Hollywood, turning to regional theater and voice work to make ends meet. He married costume designer Eleanor Reese, and together they had 2 children, Benjamin and Claudia. But the marriage crumbled under financial stress and Garner's increasing reliance on alcohol to dull the pain of rejection. Estranged from both children and divorced by the late 90s, he lived in obscurity, at one point briefly homeless after his home was foreclosed. In 2003, he suffered a stroke that impaired his speech, effectively ending any hope of returning to stage work. Now 87, Garner resides in an assisted living facility in Oregon, largely forgotten by the industry he once gave everything to. His estate is estimated at just under $250,000, sustained primarily through a modest pension and limited royalties from past performances. Felix Silla, who portrayed the lovable robot Twiki in Buck Rogers in the 25th century, was 42 years old in 1979 when he donned the metallic suit that housed the quirky companion of Buck Rogers. Known for his physical agility and timing, Silla brought Twiki to life with a charm that resonated with fans across generations. But behind the scenes, Silla's life was marked by personal sorrow and quiet perseverance. He married Susan Silla, and they had 2 children, including a daughter named Bonnie, who tragically died from cancer in her teens, a loss Felix never fully recovered from. His marriage endured but was strained by long periods of travel and work that took him away from his family. Career-wise, roles were scarce after Buck Rogers, and Silla often took on minor appearances in sci-fi conventions to make ends meet. He struggled with health issues later in life, including pancreatic cancer, which ultimately took his life on April 16, 2021, at the age of 84. Despite the pain and obscurity of his later years, he remained a cherished figure in fan circles. His estate, modest and mostly accumulated from appearances and residuals, was estimated at $500,000, much of which was left to his wife and grandchildren. Wilfried Hyde, who brought the charmingly eccentric Dr. Goodfellow to life at age 75 in Buck Rogers in the 25th century, was already a veteran of the stage and screen when he stepped into the role of the wise, slightly bumbling scientist. Known for his impeccable diction and old-world mannerisms, his portrayal brought warmth to the series. Off-screen, Hyde's life was marked by a long and tumultuous marriage to actress Ethel Drew, with whom he had 2 sons, including actor Alex Hyde. Though admired in public, his family life was complicated by frequent absences and emotional detachment. His son later described their relationship as strained and distant. Professionally, after Buck Rogers, roles diminished, and Hyde was said to have grown embittered by the lack of substantial parts. His final years were spent battling Parkinson's disease and the loneliness of widowhood after Ethel's passing. He died quietly in 1991 at the age of 87 from congestive heart failure. His estate, largely consisting of royalties and savings from his British film career, was estimated to be around $1.2 million, with most of it passed down to his sons. H.B. Hagerty, who portrayed the menacing Tiger Man in Buck Rogers in the 25th century at age 53, was a towering presence both on-screen and in real life. Once a professional wrestler before turning to acting, Hagerty embodied brute force and silent menace as Princess Ardala's loyal bodyguard. Despite his fierce persona, Hagerty's real life was far more troubled. He was married briefly to a woman named Lorraine in the 1960s, but the relationship ended after just 3 years amid allegations of physical and emotional abuse. The union produced one daughter, Tracy, whom he rarely saw. Hagerty struggled with anger issues and alcohol dependency, often leading to bar fights and arrests that tarnished his later career. After Buck Rogers, roles dwindled, and he found himself typecast and mostly unemployed by the mid-80s. Living alone and estranged from his daughter, he suffered a debilitating stroke in 1998 that left him partially paralyzed. He died on January 27, 2004, at age 78 due to complications from diabetes and cardiovascular disease. His estate, which included a small house in Malibu and wrestling memorabilia, was valued at approximately $350,000, most of which went unclaimed. Who is your favorite character from Buck Rogers in the 25th century? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.